Hey, it's Cold Warrior with a strategy for conservatives in each Arizona legislative district to fill all the precinct committeeman slots with conservatives. I'm going to outline a simple, logical strategy for conservative precinct committeemen to fill up all of the vacant precinct committeeman slots in the Arizona Republican Party. Republicans occupy only 47% of the allotted Arizona Republican Party precinct committeeman slots. And prior to 2008, things were even worse. Then, less than 1/3 of the Republican Party precinct committeeman slots were filled. In other words, we've been going into battle against the Democrats with a party that's at half strength where it ought to be strongest. At the precinct level, the precinct committeeman level in each precinct, where get out the vote efforts can take place neighbor to neighbor. We also go into battle because there's been a split between moderates and conservatives in the PC ranks. Sometimes with moderates, those Republicans who do not embrace the principles and values in our party platforms, the state and national platforms. In our officer slots at the legislative district, county, state, and national committee levels. This strategy that I'm outlining can turn our party into a full-strength, solidly conservative party. The conservative precinct committeemen in each legislative district committee can use this strategy to transform our party into a conservative powerhouse. This strategy should be carried out by the conservatives and for the conservatives, and not be part of the official activities of the conservatives in each legislative district. Conservative precinct committeemen in each legislative district committee need to caucus separately, apart from the official party committee. If we follow this strategy, we conservatives will own our party, as we should. So here's the overview of the strategy. Step number 1, call a meeting of all known conservatives in each legislative district. Step 2, figure out the PC quotas for each precinct and the number of filled slots. Step 3, using GOP Data Center, identify the 3-4 and 4-4 voters in each precinct with in each precinct that has vacancies. Okay. Step 4, using a litmus test voter attitude survey, determine which of the targeted Republican voters in the vacant precincts are conservative, and then pitch them on becoming appointed PCs. Then teach these new PCs this process and help them fill out their precincts to 100% strength. Step 5, all conservative PCs use this targeting and surveying system to fill out their own precincts to 100% strength. Now here's a detailed outline of this strategy. It's a 5-step strategy, as I mentioned, to create a strong conservative majority of precinct committeemen in the Arizona Republican Party. So here's step 1 again. Conservative precinct committeemen in each legislative district who know one another should print out a list of the precinct committeemen in the legislative district. The legislative district officers should have this list. Get it from them. If they have no such list, generate it using GOP Data Center or get it from the county elections department. For example, some of the county elections departments publish lists of the elected PCs online. Using that list, those conservative precinct committeemen should try to identify those other conservative precinct committeemen who they know and put a C or something next to the names of the conservative PCs on the list. Then contact each of these true conservatives that have been identified and convene a meeting for all of the conservative PCs on the list. But err on the side of caution. If someone is thought to be only possibly a true conservative, do not invite them to the meeting. So at this meeting, go through the process again with the new people in hopes of identifying additional conservative PCs in the legislative district. The goal is to identify every conservative precinct committeeman already in the PC ranks of the legislative district committee. So you have as much manpower as possible to carry out this strategy. Step 2, get the map of the legislative district showing the precincts Using the data from the county elections department, find out the quota for each precinct and the number of slots filled. Figure out how many of the precincts have 0 precinct committeemen. Work together to assign 1 or more precinct committeemen to each vacant precinct. Step 3. Using the GOP data center, or better software if you have it, such as Connect GOP or Our Votes, print out a walking sheet for each vacant precinct of the 4/4 and 3/4 Republican voters. Go through that list and try to highlight those Republicans who are between about 45 and 65 years old. Divide these names among the conservative PCs willing to reach out to target these Republicans. We will target the 4/4 and 3/4 Republican voters in this age bracket because we believe they may already be empty nesters and may be willing to spend a little bit of time to become a precinct committeeman. So step 4. The conservative PCs will work together to divvy up the work. The goal is to have 1 or more PCs recruiting new conservative PCs in the vacant precincts. Each set of PCs assigned to each vacant precinct will cold call these Republican voters and survey them to determine whether they are conservatives. This can be done by phone or at the target's front doors. Announce yourself as a fellow Republican who lives nearby and a Republican Party precinct committeeman, and say you are conducting a voter attitude survey of Republican voters designed to learn what the rank and file registered Republican voters are thinking about the elected Republicans and the Republican Party officials. The questions should be designed to quickly determine whether the Republican voter is a moderate or a conservative. For example, the first question might be, would you consider yourself to be a conservative Republican? If the answer is yes, the second question might be, would you consider yourself to be a John McCain conservative or a J.D. Hayworth conservative? Another question might be, do you believe John McCain and Jeff Flake are fighting hard enough to close our southern border before even beginning to discuss fixing our lack of enforcement of existing immigration laws? Each group of conservative precinct committeemen who are working together should try to develop their own set of questions that they're comfortable discussing with voters on the phone or in person at the voters' doorsteps. The questions should be designed to provide a quick litmus test of the Republican to find out whether they are conservative. I can generate these questions for you, but I suggest each PC try to come up with their own as they may be more comfortable with their own wordings. So if after 1 or 2 questions the PCs determine the voter has not given the right answers, politely thank them for their participation in the survey and leave. There's no sense wasting your time. Move on to the next voter. So if a voter, because of the questions, decides to vent a little bit, let them vent. Their venting may help you conclude whether they are conservative. At the end of the survey questions, and you don't need to ask all of the questions if you've already concluded the voter is a true conservative, ask whether they are happy with the current party leadership. That is, do they think the Republican officers, such as Reince Priebus and Michael Steele before him, are conservative enough to represent our party? Ask whether they believe Priebus and Steele before him have fought hard enough for conservative principles. They'll say no, probably. After they say no, ask them whether they would like an opportunity to vote for whom these party officers are who speak for the party. They'll probably say yes. Then inform them how easy it is to get into that position to be able to vote for the party officers. Explain to them that all they need to do to become eligible to vote for the party leadership is to fill out a single piece of paper to be appointed to a vacant precinct committeeman slot. Explain to them that currently their precinct is without even a single precinct committeeman, and they'll be the first. Explain to them that in Maricopa County, for example, only 53% of the precinct committeeman slots are filled, and that 40% of the 724 precincts have not even one Republican precinct committeeman. Explain to them that only 47% of the PC slots statewide are filled, and it's probably worse elsewhere in the country. Now, don't beg them to become PCs, but explain how desperately we need conservatives to grow our ranks inside the party in the precincts, and how a majority rules inside the party. The greater number of conservative PCs we have, the greater likelihood we'll have conservatives in the committee officer slots, and the more likely conservatives will be able to have the legislative district committee and county committee be in a position to vote to endorse the best conservative in those all-important, traditionally very low turnout primary elections. Then pull out the form and show them how easy it is to sign up to volunteer to become a precinct committeeman for their precinct. Explain to them that there are no mandatory duties or dues, and they can make the position what they want. They can be in a position by becoming a precinct committeeman, by filling out the form, to actually vote on party matters at the monthly legislative district committee meetings. And they can also vote at those meetings by proxy if they can't actually attend the meeting. Explain that once they become precinct committeemen, no one can tell them what to do, but that they wield enormous power because they get to vote for the party officers. Among other things, ask them if they would be willing to volunteer to become a precinct committeeman, and explain an existing PC will be assigned to them and teach them the ropes. Tell them when the next legislative district committee takes place, and offer to arrange for someone to pick them up and take them to the meeting, if they so desire. Ask them if they know any other conservatives who might also be interested in becoming an appointed PC. Step 5. After recruiting one or two or more precinct committeemen via the process that I've described in the vacant precincts, now the conservative precinct committeemen who've done this should turn to their own precincts and use the same process to fill out their own precinct with new conservative appointed precinct committeemen. All the while, the conservative precinct committeemen should work together to assign the new recruits to them for mentoring. Each new precinct committeeman that has been recruited via this process needs to be taken under someone's wing, so to speak, to teach them how to do the above, how to do what I've described to recruit additional precinct committeemen in their own precincts. We conservative PCs need to help our new recruits to meet those new precinct committeemen who were recruited in their own precinct, and then help those new precinct committeemen to work together to fill out their respective precincts. All of the conservative precinct committeemen in each precinct need to fill out all the vacancies in their own precinct with warm conservative bodies. I highly recommend each group of conservative PCs in each legislative district form an informal or formal legislative district number such and such conservative precinct committeeman caucus organization. This can be accomplished, for example, by creating an Arizona Conservative Coalition chapter for your one's legislative district, and that's how we can get a warm conservative body into each vacant precinct committeeman slot. We can also go to each conservative organization in our respective legislative districts, for example, Tea Party groups, the 912 groups, the pro-life groups, etc., and pitch the conservatives in those groups on this strategy. The conservative precinct committeemen in each legislative district should work together to figure out which groups to go talk to. And here's some more good news. This strategy can be used in every local voting district in the United States by conservative Republicans. If conservatives do this in every local voting jurisdiction, they can take over the Republican Party in a few months. Of the approximately 400,000 Republican Party precinct committeeman slots nationwide, about half are vacant. Conservatives, we've got our destiny in our own hands. Who controls our party is a pure numbers game. We all have to organize and unite politically for real political action where we live in our own political neighborhood, so to speak, our own precinct. Then branch out from there. If we conservatives cannot figure out how to do this and then carry out this strategy, we deserve to lose our country, period. And we will. So let's take back our party so we can take back our government at the ballot box. Using the soapbox, the First Amendment, alone is not enough. Let's use the ballot box so we can avoid having to use the cartridge box. So let's get to it. Thank you.